So, regardless, I've watched two documentaries now about J6. I, I'm appalled still right now that that they don't see us. They don't hear us. They don't care. It just I, I'm afraid to think, because now we've had Biden for 2 years. I'm afraid to think of the next thing that's going to happen that will break us. What is that going to look like? I just, I don't know. I, to me, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's all. Thanks.
I believe news for is next.
Friends, news for friends. Linda, the next thing that's up is under the guise of climate change around the globe, there's these 15 to 25-minute cities being set up already to test the best way to facilitate control of them. You might want to do some research and check into that. Anyway, the thing I do is I talk to as many people as I can wherever I go. I'm on my soapbox everywhere, even post office lines. I remind them the government is playing divide and conquer. We must come together. We must all look at what we have in common. And the other thing is, I make a point of trying to talk to young people because as a grandmother, I've wondered why so many young people come out of school hating this country and having no respect for it. That's the reason I signed up as a social justice activist with NEA. I wanted to see what they're doing. And I get their emails for their suggestions for their activists and stuff. And the curriculum is so extensive. I've only had time to go through the kindergarten portion. It's just so incredible. It goes on and on, you know, when you click on links, and there's just so much. And the thing is that I found important, and that the way I've broke through to some of them is talking to them about one thing. My goal is to try to show how they've been lied to about one thing. Once I convince them that, then they can go on and they'll naturally wonder about everything else they're told. The one thing you can definitively explain to them is the fact that slavery was going on around the whole world for thousands of years before the US came in existence. The US did not start it. The way it's worded in the curriculum, it was one of the first things I noticed. They talk about slavery being started by the UK, US, and Australia, and they refer to them as the colonials. And they omit that fact. But the way they word it, that omission leads them to believe that it started in the US. And I've talked to a few young people that started out arguing with me saying, no, you're wrong. It started in the US. This is firmly entrenched in their mind. And I don't think most people realize what a big deal this is. Anyway, that's all I have to say at this moment. Thank you for letting me talk, by the way.
Thank you, News. Go ahead, Sharon.
Is it me? Um, so I was just wondering, for Manuel, you were saying that you saw lots of live streams. Did you see recording or did you see live stream? Because they had cut off the internet. People could not connect, or maybe it was certain services of cell phones, but people were having a hard time getting on the internet, and it was draining all their batteries too. I
Yeah,
know they got a lot of recordings, but like live stream.
no, I was watching actual live streams. I wasn't picking up some recordings.
I wonder where they were. You know, like
It seems like before, up until right before, like
Hey, Manuel, I'm not sure if it's on my end or not, but it sounds like you're breaking up some.
He is.
all right. Well, just wanted to let you all know also there was extremely, from what I heard, extremely patriotic and beautiful singing, waving of flags, veterans, people in wheelchairs. It's not a joke. Like, I know you hear that, people in wheelchairs, people, veterans. It's true. And it was beautiful, and there were lots and lots of people. There were Antifa. It was Antifa coming and hitting people in the back of the head unprovoked. And I just wanted to say that I do understand the people that may think it's a little crazy. Sorry, that it's a little crazy they went in. I actually just think it was dangerous for them to go in. Like, oh my God, like really, guys? Like, with all those people, like it would have been enough if you didn't go in. I do feel they had the right, but I do feel that was like
It was
some
set
kind of,
up. It was set
yeah,
up.
it was set up, and it was also excitable emotions. And to be honest, um, I know some, and they're good people. There are some patriots in this country that didn't go there with guns that could have, that are armed to the hilt at home, that love this country more than anything. There are 3% groups that are defensive groups, but they will be the last people standing fighting for this country. There are people like that, but they didn't go armed. And what somebody said before was if they wanted to have an insurrection and overthrow the government, they would have done it. There were enough people, they could have done it easily. And I don't know what documentary she watched, but if it's the one I know about called Bloody Hill, then you will see that they easily could have done it. And the only people that kept it from being a bloodbath were the Patriots, who kept control, because they could have
No,
done it.
this one was called
I'm
Four.
sorry, I can't hear you.
This one was called 4 Hours. It's fairly new, but I mean, I don't know how the guy had the access that he had, but he has it, and he's actually in the chamber, and he's filming things, and the guy that calls out, "Where's Nancy? Nancy, where are you?" What those people wanted to do was talk to these legislatures and these people in the chamber and say, hear us. What is going on? This
Linda,
doc, yeah.
are you referring to the guy in the, I don't know, the barbarian's suit when he walks in and he's escorted by the Capitol Police to go in there?
Don't know. I know who you're talking about, the guy that was in the suit and stuff,
Yeah,
but
he's from Arizona.
right, not that's the shaman guy, right? No, not him.
I'm not sure his
This,
name. He always wore the furry suit and whatever, painted his face. But he
yeah,
was escorted in by Capitol Police, and
right,
he was
right.
arrested.
And as far as Ashley Babbitt, this guy even managed to be. There was a girl running around in the hallway with a backpack, and he followed her. And it turns out that she ended up in that hallway, and somebody was breaking the glass, and the next thing I know, she's kind of in the front of the line, and they were kind of hoisting her up a little, a little bit, and the guy on the other side of the glass just pulled out a gun and shot her dead, bam. And the minute that happened, chaos broke out. Like, oh my God, they've killed this girl, they've shot someone. And a lot of people ran out right then saying, oh my God, they shot somebody. And the viewpoint from this documentary just absolutely floored me, because rather than the people that were in the chamber, Nancy and all those people, being that close to knowing that there were a million people just 200 feet from them. It actually took relatives, uh, like Nancy Pelosi's daughter and so cop's son, texting them saying, "Are you aware of what's going on outside?" Many times, the people that were in the Capitol actually came up against the police and they talked. There was no, you know, uh, trying to take him out, like the other guy said, and a lot of the protesters that were there were telling the police, you're a traitor. It was like nobody was willing to even acknowledge the people that were there and why. It's mind blowing.
They were told to stand down. They were told to basically hope for things to happen so they could get it on camera. And there was a huge crane overhanging the whole area that had a camera on the top of the crane. Just an FYI. It was a staged operation with camera ready. I mean, I'm sure that maybe those cameras are always there, but there was an actual crane. Like, I don't think there's usually a crane at the Capitol.
Right. There was a whole news crew following them all the way through the Capitol. It was ridiculous.
I don't
So,
know, but during this video, Nancy Pelosi was like one of the first ones out of the chamber completely. Just goodbye, boom, and so many of them, it like took forever to actually get it to them, that something was happening, and rather than the people that were in the chamber, the law legislators and all that, rather than them even try, to get a message even to the police that were dealing with it, and there was no attempt even at communication.
I remember watching that because I flipped over to C-SPAN. I left the whole parade and everything going on, the protests and whatnot. And I seen Pelosi being dragged out and all the rest of the people kind of in commotion. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Are we going to fight? Are they going to certify this or what's going on? And then all of a sudden, like that turned off and we went outside. And all I see on TV is the outside people breaking windows, this, that, and the other. It was crazy.
Right, and there were so many people that were there, you know just being like myself. They were just there because they wanted those people in that capital to hear them, to hear their anger, their frustration, their that that we know we know we know what happened, and they wouldn't.
Well, they were also unhinged because Pence, there was a little bit of hope for those people to be heard and for Pence to maybe do something. And when he didn't, uh, now I don't know where these accusations of hang Pence, I mean, people were angry. They were calling him a traitor. They were screaming out that he was a traitor. In my opinion, he is. But calling for violence, I don't know. There's always going to be an individual or two, and that's all it takes. And it could have been an infiltrator, it could have been, a Trump supporter, but that's not representative of a million people. And that's all the media does, and that's all the committee did. Um, but things, so at, I think inside, when people were being hurt, it got lit. And on the outside, when Pence, didn't do what people thought maybe he would do, it got lit. And it was just a powder keg without guns. And you don't have an insurrection without guns. This is a thing that drives me crazy. This is a thing that makes me like boil.
The other thing
Like
I noticed.
there were enough people to overthrow the government. So when they use the
Oh,
word insurrection and overthrow the government,
five times.
I wanna vomit.
Five times.
literally
I
white vomit.
exactly. It was they could have taken that place in a heartbeat, but the it's but they didn't. That's the thing. Even in this video, it shows so many places where the police actually come up against the people that are inside and talk happens. Just talk. And the thing that it's like everybody, all of the politicians and the Capitol Police were mad. It's like they were mad that we were mad. I mean, it's
I don't even think that they were mad. I think they were paid to sit there and do nothing. And like I said, it was all set up. Justin, do you want to jump in? You got something had your hand for a while.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for a pause. I didn't want to. Thank you. So, from my perspective, that day, January 6th, there was a comment made earlier, and there was some clarification, but basically opinions of those who got wrapped up in it. Do what I think happened that day was good for nation overall? No. The people that were there that got involved. Is it possible, from my opinion, that some of those involved were agitators, members of the federal government, that sort of thing? Sure. Is it also possible that when you have a large amount of people gathered in it, and they're usually of like mind, that if you get them excited and things start to slip, a little bit of agitation, that you got idiots in any group that are going to take advantage of that and they're going to slip up? And also, if you haven't been around law enforcement growing up, like I grew up around federal law enforcement working outside of DC, like that was in my household. Seeing what was happening on January 6th, like we say the people's house, that sort of thing, but it's always in my mind, that's not ours, that is a hardened asset. And so the fact that American people were going in there, as soon as I saw us commoners in there, I was like, this is going to be bad. Because while we should be able to go in there and grace those halls, that is not for us. The controlled tours that they do, that's limited in what we can see, but that's for a reason, to protect that building. The claims about if there was an insurrection, if they wanted to overthrow the American government, that it wouldn't have been successful, I reject that entirely. U.S. Capitol is one building. There's continuity of government plans. There's a military. You would not be able to hold that building with those people there.
Right, we get that. I think what I was just trying to say, and I won't stay on,
Okay.
is that their claims that we were overthrowing it. I'm just saying there was manpower enough to do the violence that they were trying to categorize. You know what I mean? I know
Yeah.
you couldn't overthrow the government with one building. I hear you. I
Okay,
totally
can we stick to hands and just stick with everybody
Yeah, I just
speaking
said
there,
I'm not going to
please?
stay. I just, when somebody mentions something that I said, I just want to respond. I'm going to leave. Thank you.
No, I respect that, Sharon. Thank you. I don't want to put words in your mouth. So, yeah. Um, yeah, thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Um, so, yeah, for with that, you've got the continuity government, you've got military assets in place, you've got the rest of the government redundant throughout the place. There's no way to take down the American government successfully in one fell swoop. I'm not a big uh, person on Netflix, but there's actually a scene in The Crown where the uncle of the queen there, he gets involved in a possible coup, and he goes through and he outlines, these are the successful coups, and then just for the British government, which isn't as free and isn't as built up in bureaucracy as ours, he outlines why it would be so difficult to replace that government. Where even if you have actual members, if you have a building, that sort of thing.
Linda, can you mute your mic, please? It's echoing. Sorry.
Cool. So it's just not possible. Granted, anything's possible, but I don't want it to be possible either. I want to work within the system. So when I saw that, it felt like a trap to me. And when you're in those situations, like when I was deployed, I didn't have to go outside the wire much, so I don't have as much experience with this. But those situations where you're trying to control people, of course the cops were just talking to them as they walk through. They were outnumbered. They're in a position where they're significantly outnumbered. This is a security breach they haven't had before. They're trying to pacify people. They're not going to say, get down, you shouldn't be in here, that sort of thing. They're going to do what they can to try and keep the situation calm. Of course, everything was being photographed. As far as the crane, could that have been placed there for the construction of the inauguration stage that gets made for every 4 years or whatnot? And as far as cameras being on there, probably security related. I'm more concerned about the geocaching that happened afterwards, where companies just handed over the GPS information from cell towers and whatnot to the FBI versus making them subpoena it. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. And final one. I got it listed here for my bullet points. Those that were caught up in it, that moment, right, on both sides, I don't think a lot of those people wanted to go in there and make those decisions that day. I'm sure a lot of people have regrets, but you get caught up in that energy. And I'd ask that we consider this for the riots of 2020, 2021 as well, right? You get caught up in an energy of a lot of people. Decisions are happening quick. You can become a part of that easily as a rational adult. You can go from someone who would say, I would never do this, I would never break a window, I would never hit someone, to all of a sudden you're slamming someone's skull on the ground. Like, this stuff can happen and you're not above it. So be careful when you're put into situations around others where you can be manipulated and forced into that position and they're waiting for you to slip up.
Go ahead, Trade.
Hey guys, real quick, I wasn't really going to speak to any of this because as some of you know, I've mentioned this. I am an immigrant, right? I'm a US citizen. I love this country tremendously. The day I became a US citizen was um I would say it matches the day I got married. The ICE officer that swore me in gave me a hug. There was a folded flag behind him on his desk. It was a big day for me. So, I feel the passion, I feel the frustration, the love, the patriotism. I feel all of that. But the one thing I will say that Justin's point is understated. It's understated. They wanted somebody to be an idiot that day. And when I say an idiot, I mean in the moment. People do dumb things in the moment. They might not be a dumb person. They might not have bad intentions. But when adrenaline is flowing and people are upset, you logically the best thing you can do from a critical thinking standpoint is if you know emotions are already flying it already it's already to a point where you are at risk of maybe doing something that you normally would not and behave in a way that you normally would not behave. And I know, there are plenty of people that are going to respond to me and say, well, you don't understand, it's my vote was stolen and this and that and the other. Yes, sure, I get it. Trust me. I understand. My point is they were not going to accomplish anything. There was nothing to accomplish. Walking up to Nancy Pelosi and speaking to her was not going to accomplish anything. So I implore people in life, always evaluate the end goal of your actions. What are you doing? Is it really worth it? So at the end of the day, just think about the fact that Justin's point should be hit home in every one of these conversations. The Capitol is a tank. You can't walk onto an Air Force base and climb in a jet willy-nilly just because you feel like it. Yes, your tax dollars paid for it. They did. And you know what? You should be proud of that. But you can't just walk in, climb in a jet. You can't walk onto an army base and climb in an Abrams tank. You can't walk on and just, go for for a fun drive in a 5 ton. It doesn't work that way. So I understand the frustration and the emotion and it's heartbreaking. I woke up on November 4th, 2020, and I had not experienced heartbreak like that in a long time because I realize what this means. I'm a discerning human being. I have the gift of discernment. I'm, many people in here today have talked about this. When you're forward looking and you're able to see events unfold before they do, you're not Nostradamus. You're just somebody that's paying attention. You're somebody that is taking in the information as it's happening, as it's occurring, and you see events unfold, and you, to the best of your ability, you're able to discern the most probable outcome. Anybody that's truly paying attention should be able to do that. And I think many people that went to the Capitol that day, whether best of intentions, some of the worst things in life are done with good intentions. Actions are what people evaluate in the end. and that's my piece. I cannot stress this and emphasize this enough. Love this country. And as an immigrant, I wasn't going to speak to this because it's so difficult for me to have watched this happen. And I know for many that's still difficult. Just find some peace in the fact that we need to learn from this. That to me is extremely important.
I really like what you had to say there, man. Uh, One more thing before we call in the hands, just real quick. You know, just real quick. It shouldn't be the January 6th committee wanted to investigate why Americans showed up. Congress has consistently had a low approval rating. I believe it's under 30% for several decades now. Part of the January 6th investigation should have included why the American people were so upset with Congress and willing to do that in the first place. But it was ignored, which to me told me that it was not a priority. The other thing was when this happened, I had spent the week prior. I was off of work and I was just at night off my sleep schedule watching Russian Revolution YouTube videos. So when this happened, I was like, "Oh man, they're gonna crack down." So as a history buff, it was interesting.
All right, I'll jump in. There's a two-tier system to what you were saying, Trade. Um, what's good for the gander ain't good for the goose, and that's the problem with a lot of people with why we're so angry. Like, it's okay for one side to do this, but it's not okay for the other side to do it, and that's the part that divides us because we get angry. Oh, you can do this, but I can't. I mean, if you want to bring it down to kitty level, it's like, oh, well, you get cake, but I don't. You know why? And it's not like that stupid, but it really is that stupid. That's what we become as America. Like we're a bunch of dumbasses walking around saying, "Well, you can do it, but I can't do it," etc. But it's got to we got to find some kind of balance. Like I love that we can all talk together, have different views and whatnot, but where's the results? How are we going to fix this shit? Because if we don't fix it, we're just going to keep continuing this fight until it explodes into a huge fight. Just like these kids in the Congress. You know, we got the Democrats and the Republicans up there. They're all sucking their thumbs. I don't know if you guys remember the meme they created when all the Democrats sat in and they had their pacifiers in their mouth and they were all crying and whatnot. Now the Republicans are, they're starting to do their own little game. All this shit's got to stop. You guys are not representing the people. You guys are up there representing what position do I get? What piece of power do I get? The power has got to be removed. We got to take their power away because we are the power. We pay you guys. If we all, if all Americans decided today, you know what, we're not paying taxes no more. What are you going to do? Guess what? Cops are fired. Military's fired. Everybody's fucking fired because you ain't got no money. Because we all said we ain't paying for this no more. Now, I'm not saying that that's what we should do. I mean, they just hired 87,000 new IRS agents that be coming looking for us, but it's I don't know. We're in fuckery right now, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't have any answers of how to fix it, but I'm very frustrated as an individual.
Hey guys, I just wanted to share something about someone mentioned before about the live streaming. I was on Twitter the entire day when it happened, and there were multiple streams. There were even streams on Parlor. And then after Ashley Babbitt got killed, all of the streams were cut off, and those people were suspended immediately. And people that watched the stream were also suspended, like me. Also, Parlor got shut down, or something happened on that same day or the day after. So they were like they were allowing all of this stuff to happen until she got shot, and or the lady also got trampled. they didn't care about that. But once she got shot inside, um, kind of like they stopped everything. They started messaging each other on Twitter, like, "Oh, did you see this? Did you see this?" It was spreading around really quickly, and they shut down all the live streams. They suspended all the accounts that had the live streams. They suspended all the accounts that were kind of like saying, "Let's go," like, kind of promoting that, let's go and take over our house, we pay for it, with our tax money. So all those people who were pro freedom were shadow banned immediately, and then their accounts were taken. Like my account is attached to my real name and my real phone number, and I'm unable to get that. I'm like a J6 shadow banned prisoner, I guess, on online. And it doesn't go small as that. They've gone to like things that you use that are connected to San Francisco headquarters, California. Um, will send you like, "Oh, you've broken community guidelines," or and then when you try to fight it, kind of they say that it's a third party algorithm that comes from California, and that it's really, they don't really know how to stop it. But the system will say you're like on your first um, a broken rule, or your second, or whatever. So they're doing this progressively to certain people. You might not experience it because your account was not shut down, because you have a check mark, or because you were protected. But there are people like me out there that don't have their like things creatively that they had before. Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Charlotte. Could I just say, Bishop and Yellow and Max, wow, what a space last night. I fell asleep, I think, finally at like 4 o'clock or something. Amazing space. Truly amazing. And the amount of truth that was coming out and the amount of dialogue, from both sides. I think we did a lot of working out with each other and a lot more gathering and becoming true patriots. Yeah, Charlotte, I think that's the next move, though, is those NGOs that I think on the omnibus bill. I think a lot of that goes to support those, and those are the ones that are continuing that shadow banning. And I think we need to start writing our Congress people about this and saying that we don't want this supported, get it taken out. And I don't know how that goes about. I'm not a legal mind, but I'm sure there's somebody in this space that is, that could explain how a bill that's already passed and our new Congress, once it gets established, that we could do something about the bill. I don't know. I'm looking for answers. And I think, if you don't mind, News 4F, if you don't mind Jeremy going before you, because he hasn't spoken yet from since I've been on. And then you could go.
I only have to say something quick and I've got to leave.
Yeah, go ahead, let her roll.
Okay, in answer to your question, the quickest way to stop a bill that's already been voted on is just to simply not fund it. That's number one. And there are other avenues that I'm investigating right now. I don't have the full answer. Aside from that, I'm still on Democratic fundraising lists. And I got it on my computer and I have no way to get it into the space from my computer. So I sent it to Bishop via DM. Bishop, maybe you can paste that, maybe you can post that into the space, because this shows the Democrats' plan of action right now. And I think it's something we need to emulate. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, good day, folks. Hey, I think part of January 6th too, just my only my opinion, my hallucination, I shall say, is they froze us actually. I mean, yeah, they let us in and mob rule took over and stuff like that, but you're gonna think twice before you throw down maybe what you call insurrection, or we're gonna fight against tyranny and stuff like that. I mean, I always debate to my own self is, how would it start? I mean, if somebody was, they'd come in and take your guns. I mean, you'll never take my gun. But I mean, if they took individually slowly, they slowly take your guns, So I just always wondered about that. That was kind of my thing. But in general, I don't know who was speaking before. Was it Max or Emperor before, that was talking about how we start. I mean, I'm a big convention of states proponent, man. I'm huge on convention of states. Um, I think it's a just a change of direction. How we hit it. I know there's not a lot of people that know about the Constitution or know what's in it and how we can amend amendments on the Constitution. I think it's more of our peaceful way of trying to do it because if 34 states pull together and throw up term limits and a few other things that they're looking to do as term limits, fiscal responsibility, and the states pull their power. I mean, the states have to pull the power. Locally, we have to get involved. There's just no way about it. Otherwise, we can't change what's going on that national level, and we've got to get our states to be powerful. 34 to set up a convention, 38 to ratify. So that's all it takes is to ratify an amendment. And some people are like, how would they stay? How would they? They don't listen to the Constitution now. Well, it would be part of it. An amendment is a constitution. We've amended the Constitution many times, even in the 1900s. We have. So this is a way that we can. It would really change the dynamic of what would go on. I mean, if this convention pulled off, it would really change. They'd be like, "Whoa, okay, what's going on?" And it'd be pretty huge, a momentous kind of change, and that's what we've got to do because otherwise, we feel like there's nothing that we can do. And rising up, I'm not trying to say rise up, but I mean, sooner or later, I mean, we're only going to get pushed so far until either we're just going to be nice sheep and hang out, or it's going to get crazy and ugly. So that's just my take. And if anybody else has anything, I don't know who was talking about it. Emperor, go ahead. Or Empire 583272101. Go ahead. Anybody else?
Hello, hello. Why am I being cut off?
I don't know.
Anyway, what the fuck was I saying? Shit. We're mostly Gen Xers in here. Other than that, baby boomers, and I don't know, we might have some millennials in here. But most of the people up here speaking are Gen X or baby boomer or above. And we had to learn the Constitution in school. We learned it in eighth grade to graduate. We learned it in high school again to graduate. I personally carry a pocket Constitution with me everywhere I go. Um, these younger people in this country don't even know what the Constitution is. They don't know the Bill of Rights. They don't know any of their rights. It's sickening. It's sad. And it's written in cursive on the original documents, and they've removed cursive from school. So kids will not know how to read the original Constitution. Therefore, they will be able to change and manipulate it to say whatever they want it to say, just like they've done with the Bible. The Bible has so many different versions, and I don't want to get on a religious rant, but I mean, we have so many different versions of the Bible, but the original Bible is non existent to the people. And the more they keep doing this, years, centuries and decades, and as time goes by, you lose that history. And then whoever's in power controls whatever the history is. And we need to stop that. Like right now, most people's music and pictures and everything, it's all digital. It's in your phone or on your laptop or something or your tablet or whatever. What happens when they decide, you know what, we're going to obliterate anything digital? It's gone. So now you lost your pictures of your mother, your kids, your grandparents. It's all gone because nothing is written. It's not on paper. I'm kind of weird. Like I prefer paper books. I don't want to read a book on a screen. where I'm blinding myself while I read it for 3 hours. And we need paperback. We got to bring it back to paper, sign your name with a cursive signature, bring it back to the old school. We're evolving into something that we're not going to be able to come back from.
So real quick, that pocket constitution you have is the old school one. There's actually the book weighs about, or weighs about 10 pounds now, and it's 2,700 pages, and it's a century of runaway constitutional convention because the Supreme Court. Because of the Supreme Court and the bills, the things that we allow them to run away with. So it is it is huge now. So I think you could buy that Constitution that's like 2,700 pages for $300. And at the end of the book, it's blank because it prepares it for more of the Constitution and interpretation and analysis of it. So
More amendments to
yeah,
screw us over.
every time the Supreme Court, man, because they're running off the Constitution. So it's crazy because the pocket Constitution is 4,400 words, so in about 7,000 words if you count the amendments. So
I don't know. Mine's pretty small. It's
yeah,
really thick, but the words are very tiny. Like I almost need a magnifying glass to read the shit. So I think it's pretty pure and in full.
yeah. I mean, we got to cut it down. We got to get our federal government back. I mean, we got to cut them down. They're not going to fix themselves. They will not fix themselves. Not at all. And look, I've been kind of kicking around and doing convention estates, and I'm actually new to it, and so I'm like digging in, learning and researching. I love the research, so I'm digging in and researching, talking about it, and like I'm already like the leader 4 days in this month, and I've got like 57 people signed up and 9 volunteers. Like I'm like what? So just off of Twitter, so because I believe that we need solutions because we definitely need solutions. There's got to be ways to combat these guys are just running amok. Even Congress right now, nobody we put up there. I know we'll put Trump up there, or we'll try to put Trump, DeSantis, or whatever, or that man wants to change the world. They're not going to be able to because the system is just is broke, man. It is. I keep saying it. It's broke. It's wrecked, and we got to get in and everybody's got to help, everybody's got to start getting involved. I mean, like I said, it's the while back with 74 million people voted for Trump. 10 million of those people got involved, really got involved. I think we can make a total change. I mean, volunteered and started a movement, a grassroots movement. 10 million of those voters. Maybe there is some of those that are already doing it, but I'm talking about really getting involved. If we, we have what 40, 50 people in here. If you're all involved in your local, talking to your local representatives, because I mean it starts local. Your local sheriffs. I mean, finding out where they stand, who they are, what they do, what they stand for. I mean, that's really the truest case I believe to make change. Rose One, go ahead. You're on KXVX.
Well, thank you. So I have a couple comments. So as a teacher, I started doing cursive. Been teaching 28 years, and I started teaching cursive. And as more and more things get added to our curriculum, which it kind of, I gotta be honest, the legislative laws, even with the Department of Ed, we got to look at who's leading that department because they keep adding more and more things for us to teach these children. There's not enough hours in the day. Basically, your schools have become, the parent of a lot of these kids who don't seem to have, the rules. And every time that there's a issue in society, they want the schools to take care of it. So that's why the basics are going out the window. They add more and more things. The SEL curriculum of social emotional learning, which is like your critical race theory. And every time there's something wrong with drugs, we got to go into the health curriculum and we have to go into that. And everything in society, they rely on the schools to teach because they don't trust the parents to teach it. So there's not enough hours in the day when you add everything up. I mean, sometimes I look at the number of instructional minutes I'm supposed to be doing everything, and I'm in a school that's 7 hours a day, 7 hours in an elementary. So I still can't fit in the number of minutes in what they're asking me to do. It's still short. That's if I give the kids a snack, which I do. But there's things that we can't always just say that schools have to do it. We got to rely that the schools aren't doing it and go back to the parent does it. So if you want your kid to know cursive, you got to teach it to them. If you want your kid to know how to navigate, things on the internet, you got to do it.
Hold
I
on a
mean,
second. Hold on a second. Now,
yeah,
you're saying, and I'm no disrespect, please
yeah.
don't take it this way. As a teacher, you're saying that you're my children's parent and that we rely on you to be our children's parent. But yet, when we go to the school boards and complain about things, we're told, well, you need us and you're going to listen to us. And whatever we say your child needs, you're going to take. And yes, I rose my voice just a little bit. And I apologize. I got a little energy when it comes to that with my kids in school. I've gotten into it with principals, superintendents. Like, there's things I don't agree with. I didn't agree with my kids going to school and wearing a fucking mask. I don't agree with the CRT. I don't agree with my kids coming home with transgender and sexual books when they're in kindergarten through fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade. I don't think they need to know about any of that until they're in high school when your hormones actually start kicking in and oh my god, I had a wet dream. Okay, you're ready for sex ed. And you know what, you guys are not in total charge of that, because I should get a permission slip saying, do you want your child to participate in this? And I should have a choice of saying no. I'm going to teach my kid about sex. I'm going to teach my kid about his biology or her biology, not having some school say, well, here's a random survey and we won't tell your parents about it. What kind of crap is that? And I don't know where you are and what's, I'm not asking for the school name, but or the area, if it's more liberal or more conservative in the teaching. But like in the cities, they're really pushing a lot of this crap onto the kids. And it's like, they're kids. Shouldn't we be focusing on like math, real science, social studies, history, physical education, instead of pushing sex onto the kids? I got a daughter that came to me and said she was gay, and I said she's a lesbian. I said, who told you that? Well, I just kind of feel that way right now. I said, you're 7 at the time when this happened. I said, well, what does that mean? If you're going to be a lesbian, what does that mean for you? Well, I like girls and I'm going to sleep with them and we're going to do you're going to do what? You're going to do what? Is what I told her. And she said, well, I've been told that like we will be like a couple, like you and mommy. And I'm like, nope, not in this house. So this is coming from the schools. The schools are pushing this stuff on our kids and their children. When I was a kid, you know what? You know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about, can I get away with saying the F word with nobody catching me? Oh my God, I could say fuck, or playing Johnny Tackle in the schoolyard when it snowed and stuff like that. Like all this sexual stuff, it needs to be removed from school. Leave that on the parents. Now, you talked about leaving cursive up to the parents. No, that's the school's job to teach my child how to write in cursive. That's curriculum. Now, the sex shit, you can pull that out, put the cursive back in. I yield back. Sorry.
Who was it? Rose? Were you? I don't remember who was talking.
Can I respond? Yes,
Well, yeah, whoever was talking at the time. Yeah.
it was me. No, I'm right with you. I'm in a blue city, so I teach in that, and I know what it's like. So what I'm saying to you is, right now, it's not going to happen. So the reality, like if you're focusing on the cursive, that's not reality unless you are immediately able to do something and change the school boards, which you're saying that you already fought with them. If you do want your kid to have it, then you have to now teach it to them. I mean, and not for anything, the schools can't teach everything. I mean,
The
I'm
problem
sorry,
is,
and
I
I'm not
can't fight.
arguing with you. There's a lot in the curriculum. I, as a veteran teacher, ignore it, even though I'm in a
I
blue city.
cannot fight the school board to teach my kid cursive at the same time I'm fighting them to keep the sex out of it. I mean,
I'm just
and
giving
then at the
reality
same
that it's not
time,
going to happen. The cursive.
at the same time, I'm going to get arrested from the school board for voicing my opinion. It makes no sense. Like, the teachers need to stand up for what's right, and I'm not picking on you individually. I'm just saying the teachers need to start standing up. If you have certain views that you disagree with that are coming down from the principal or coming down from the superintendent, you guys need to start talking together and saying, hey, this is enough. These are our children. These are the future of America. We have to do something. And like I said, again, I'm not picking on you. You brought up that you were a teacher. We're not saying where you're from. You're from a blue state. I'm from a blue state. It sucks.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. Hey, well,
Let's go
I'm gonna
to.
touch. Oh, what,
Sorry,
Jeremy?
Jerry.
Real quick, real quick. So, two things. I believe, too, that like our education system is outdated. I mean, we're not even modernized up to what we need to be. And I'm not a teacher or anything, so I couldn't stay on that. But I mean, we can start to see that with chat W WPT or whatever, that you could just go and get a 500 word essay dropped out now, put it in, and it'll come out, and change a few words, you got an essay. So you're not even really going to be learning some stuff, especially when you can now create your own essays. There's so many tricks and tips that you can do online. Schools are going to have to adapt, and they're not, and they're just pushing the social agenda on there, and being more social than anything, instead of really drilling down and getting our scores up as children. We're going to get bypassed. China is just, they know what's up. They're working hard to keep their kids from being little jerk faces, whatever. I mean, I got teenage girls, so, and they're in California, and they got to deal with all of this. So they're not in a heavily liberal area, but there is some stuff that still gets slipped through the classroom. Depends on what it is. Second thing I wanted to say, especially sexualizing uh, the transgender movement, transformation down in California, and not have any repercussions. They're like, it's crazy because I'm up here in Idaho. My child wanted to have a nose piercing. She couldn't do it until she was 14. So she can't get her nose pierced, but I can go down to California and get my gender reassigned at, say, 8 or 12 or whatever, and I can go get my gender assigned. I can't even get a tattoo until I'm 18, but I can go get my my penis chopped off and become a female at
You're
age
hoo hoo.
12.
Don't do it,
I'm,
Jeremy. Don't do it.
Up, up. Don't do it.
I just, I just saying I won't. But
All right.
it's so crazy that they can't even vote, but they're gonna go ahead and let them do something so crazy. It's just insane, especially
No,
California, what they do. So
it's pure insanity, and it comes from the federal level because the federal Department of Education has, taken over the state agencies. It's all about the money. The money trickles down from the federal government to the state Department of Education, and this is all part of the plan.
So
So
yellow,
yep, yep, yep,
yellow.
yep.
So you agree with me on this a little, slightly or whatever. Um, what can we do as people when it's that far above our heads? I mean, it's
you
being
gotta, you got
pushed down.
honestly, you really have. I mean, the teachers are in a tough spot too because the teachers unions are pushing this shit too. So even if someone like Rose is against it, she's putting herself in a position where she could lose her job, or be,
Right.
even if she's tenured, they could suspend her, they could give her some bullshit
So
assignments,
what about when
right?
I pull
But
my kid out of the school?
Well, they lose
Now,
federal
now
money.
I'm
They
going
they
to jail for neglecting my child from going
no
to
no
school.
yeah, well they haven't banned homeschooling yet like they're doing in France and Canada, but you have two options. You can homeschool your kid or you can make more money and send your kid to private school.
No, here
It's
in
really the only
Illinois,
two options you have.
if
I
I
don't
want
have
to pull
kids,
my
so
kids out of school here in Illinois, I tried it during the whole masking thing, and they were threatening to throw me and my ex in jail because of what do they call it? Tardiness.
well you have to
Truancy.
I don't know how it works, but you'd
Yeah,
have to
Truancy.
probably
thank you.
you can't just pull them out of school. You have to get set up with the homeschooling program, however that works.
But
I
why?
don't know.
Why do I have to do all that? Maybe I want to teach my kids, and if they can pass a certain state test, then
Because
what's the problem?
I'm not sure
What,
how it
what
works. Is there anyone in here who knows how it works?
Well, I mean, you could be, hey, I want to have them at homeschooled, and there is programs in Illinois. I'm just on it right now, and you could do your own program. I mean, you can, but you're just say, hey, I'm going to be homeschooling them. That's my belief too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying. I can't.